The last child's scream had been recorded by the colony's emergency beacon. It played on loop across every human vessel within range, 3,000 voices crying out. Then silence. Admiral Dren Hask listened to it once. He did not need to hear it again. The sound carved itself into his memory like acid into stone. His patrol vessel, the Steadfast, hung in orbit above what remained of Ashfall Colony. Below them, craters dotted the surface where buildings once stood. The mining settlement had been home to families, workers, children playing in underground gardens. Now it was ash and bone. Lieutenant Rosa Mendez stood beside him. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. Velori energy signatures confirmed. Their weapons, their ships, no doubt about it. Hask nodded slowly. The Velori Dominion had ruled this part of the galaxy for 6,000 years. 12 elder species working together. They viewed humanity as newcomers, primitives who had stumbled into faster-than-light travel by accident. In the 80 years since first contact, humans had been tolerated but never respected. "We found a survivor," Mendez continued. "A girl, she was hiding in a collapsed shelter. They brought her to the medical bay. Her name was Sophia. She was 9 years old. Her parents had pushed her into a ventilation shaft when the bombardment started. She had crawled through darkness for 2 days before the rescue teams found her." Sophia looked at Hask with eyes that had seen too much. "The ships had pretty lights," she whispered. "Like crystals. Mama said they were beautiful, then everything burned." Hask knelt beside her bed. "I need you to be brave a little longer. Can you tell me exactly what you saw?" She told him, crystal hulls catching starlight, weapons that turned metal to vapor, her father's last words telling her to run. She spoke without crying. The tears had all been spent in the darkness. Earth Command's response arrived within hours. "Investigate, but do not engage." Humanity was not ready for war with an elder species. They had treaties to consider, diplomatic channels to explore. Hask read the orders twice, then he called his crew together. "I am going to the Wound," he announced. The Wound was the Velori Central Command Station. It orbited a dying red star at the heart of their territory. "I am going to stand before their council and demand answers. This may end my career. This may end my life. Anyone who wishes to remain behind will face no judgment." Not one crew member stepped back. The Steadfast jumped into Velori space on the 3rd day after the massacre. They emerged from hyperspace directly in front of the Wound station. Within seconds, 40 warships surrounded them. Crystalline hulls gleamed with weapons powered and ready. A transmission filled their view screen. Counselor Tyvex appeared. He was an insected creature with compound eyes that reflected the bridge lights like shattered mirrors. His species had been conquering worlds when humans were still learning to make fire. "Ah," Tyvex said. His mandibles clicked with what might have been amusement. "The primitives have come to die." Hask stood perfectly still. His hands were clasped behind his back. His expression revealed nothing. "I am Admiral Dren Hask of the Earth vessel Steadfast. 3 days ago, ships bearing Velori signatures destroyed a human colony called Ashfall. 3,000 civilians were killed. I have come to ask why." Tyvex's compound eyes shifted. "You have come to ask? How charming, little creature, you are in no position to ask anything. You are surrounded, outgunned. Your species lacks the strength to threaten us." "I am not threatening," Hask replied. "I am asking. A simple question deserves a simple answer. Did the Velori Dominion authorize the attack on Ashfall?" The counselor paused. Something in Hask's calm demeanor seemed to unsettle him. Primitives were supposed to grovel, they were supposed to beg. This human did neither. "You will be brought before the High Council," Tyvex said finally. "There you will answer for your intrusion into sovereign space. Your fate will be decided by the Archon himself." The transmission ended. Mendez exhaled slowly. "Well, at least they're not shooting." "Not yet," Hask agreed. He turned to his communications officer. "Send everything to Earth Command, the colony recordings, our position, the Velori response, all of it." "Sir, if they intercept the transmission." "Let them. I want the galaxy to see what happens next." The Steadfast was escorted toward the Wound Station by a dozen warships. Their weapons remained locked on the human vessel. One wrong move would mean instant destruction. But Hask was not planning any wrong moves. He was planning something far more dangerous. In his private quarters, he reviewed the evidence one more time, the energy signatures, the debris analysis, the testimony. Of a 9-year-old girl, it all pointed to one conclusion. The attack on Ashfall had not been random. It had been deliberate, calculated. Someone in the Dominion wanted those humans dead. And Dren Hask intended to find out who. As the Wound Station grew larger in the view screen, its massive form blocking out the dying star behind it, Mendez asked the question everyone was thinking. "What's the plan, Admiral?" Hask smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a man who had nothing left to lose. "The plan is simple," he said. "We remind them why they should have left us alone." 4,000 years of life had taught High Archon Selvex many things. He had learned that patience was a weapon, that fear was a tool, that the universe belonged to those who lived long enough to claim it. In all that time, he had never once considered that a species lasting barely a century could pose any threat. The human stood before him now, small, fragile, temporary, yet something in those eyes made Selvex uncomfortable in a way he could not name. The council chamber was vast. 12 elder species sat in ascending rings around a central platform. Crystals embedded in the walls pulsed with soft light. This room had witnessed the fall of empires, the extinction of worlds, the judgment of billions. Admiral Hask stood alone on the platform. His uniform was crisp, his posture straight. He showed no fear. "You have entered Velori space without permission," Counselor Tyvex announced. "You have made accusations against the Dominion. You have demanded answers as though you were our equal. These are crimes punishable by death." Hask nodded slowly. "I understand. Before you kill me, I request the right to present evidence. Even the lowest courts in the galaxy allow this." Selvex raised one clawed hand. "Let the creature speak. We have time to spare." The human pulled a small device from his pocket. Holographic images filled the chamber. Ashfall colony before the attack, families eating dinner, children studying, workers laughing in the mines. Then the same locations after, craters, debris, bodies. 3,000 people, Hask said. His voice was steady. Not soldiers, not threats. Families. They were mining resources that humanity had legal claim to under the Galactic Treaty of 2289, the same treaty the Velori Dominion signed. He changed the image. Energy signature analysis filled the air. These readings were taken from the debris. They match Velori weapons exactly. Your weapons, your ships, your people killed mine. Murmurs rippled through the council. Not all of them had known. Selvex noted the confusion with interest. "Let us say this is true," the Archon said. "What of it? Ashfall was one colony. You have hundreds, we have millions. The loss is trivial." Hask's expression did not change. Trivial. "Yes, in the scope of galactic affairs, 3,000 lives mean nothing. If this was indeed our doing, consider it a lesson. Your species should learn its place." The human was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, quieter, more dangerous. "I came here hoping I was wrong, hoping some rogue element acted without authority, hoping for justice. But you are telling me the Dominion does not consider the murder of my people to be a crime." "Crime requires equals," Tyvex interrupted. "You are not our equals. You live and die like insects. Your entire civilization is younger than my morning meditation." In the shadows of the observation gallery, historian Krell watched with growing unease. He had spent decades studying humans. He knew things the Council did not. He knew about the trenches of their great wars, the bombs that ended cities, the camps where they killed millions of their own kind. And he knew about the other side, the treaties that followed, the rebuilding, the stubborn refusal to surrender even when all hope was lost. Humans were not fragile, they were compressed. All that violence, all that passion, all that fury, packed into short lives that burned bright and fierce. "I wish to speak," Krell said. Stepping forward was a breach of protocol, but he could not stay silent. Selvex looked annoyed. You are an observer, not a participant. I am a historian, and I am telling you that you are making a terrible mistake. The council laughed. A historian afraid of primitives, how amusing. Hask watched this exchange with interest. He noted the fear in the insectoid scholar's eyes. Someone here understood. The Dominion does not make mistakes, Selvex declared. We have ruled for 6,000 years. We will rule for 6,000 more. Your opinion is noted and dismissed. He turned back to Hask. Human, the Dominion will offer compensation for your colony, the mineral rights, a sum of credits, perhaps even a formal expression of regret. Take this gift and be grateful. The Admiral's response was quiet, but it carried across the chamber. No. Silence fell. No one refused the Archon. No one had in living memory. No, Hask repeated. We do not want credits. We do not want minerals. We want the person who ordered the attack delivered to Earth for trial. We want justice. Selvex leaned forward. Ancient eyes studied the human with new interest. And if we refuse, then you will learn why Earth is called a death world. You will learn what makes us different from every other species you have conquered. You will learn why those who know us best are the most afraid. The Archon laughed, long and deep. 30 days, Hask continued. That is how long you have. Deliver the one responsible or face the consequences. He turned and walked toward the exit. No one stopped him. They were too stunned. Krell alone understood. He had read the human histories. He knew what those short-lived creatures were capable of. As the doors closed behind the Admiral, Krell whispered to himself. What have we done? Minister Dalov had never been more popular. His face appeared on entertainment broadcasts across the Dominion. His words were quoted at dinner parties. He had become a celebrity for putting the humans in their place. I did what needed to be done, he said during his latest interview. His serpentine body coiled comfortably on a cushion worth more than most citizens earned in a year. Those creatures were squatting on resources that belonged to proper civilization. I removed them, simple pest control. The interviewer laughed. The audience laughed. Across the galaxy, millions watched and laughed. On Earth, General Waypark watched the same broadcast in silence. Her office was dark. Her expression was stone. Behind her, screens displayed troop movements and fleet positions that the galaxy believed did not exist. 28 days had passed since the ultimatum. The humans had withdrawn from nearly every contested region. Trade ships had been recalled. Diplomatic missions had gone quiet. The galaxy interpreted this as fear. The Velori Dominion congratulated itself on teaching the primitives their place. They did not know about the Black Dawn Protocol. For 80 years, humanity had prepared for this moment. Since the day of first contact, when their delegation was laughed at and dismissed, humans had been building. Every cargo hauler in their fleet had been constructed with hidden weapon mounts. Every mining vessel could transform into a warship within hours. Every colony had been designed with defense in mind. The galaxy saw 500 human ships. The real number was 15,000. Commander Yuki Tanaka stood at the heart of the operation. Her vessel, the Silent Wind, looked like a bulk freighter. It was actually the most advanced warship humanity had ever built. Around her, hundreds of similar vessels waited. Day 28, she announced. The deadline is in 48 hours. Status report. All fleets report ready, her second replied. 1st through 7th are in position. The 8th is holding at the relay point. Ground forces are prepped for rapid deployment. And the Velori? No change. They think we're hiding. Their entertainment channels are still mocking us. Tanaka smiled. Let them laugh. Laughter would make the truth harder to accept. On the wound station, historian Krell had spent the past 4 weeks in a state of growing terror. He had tried to warn them. He had submitted report after report documenting human military history, the wars they had fought against each other, the weapons they had created, the doctrine they called mutually assured destruction. No one listened. Humans are emotional, Counselor Tyvex had said. They make threats they cannot keep. Their ultimatum is empty posturing. Krell had shown them records of Hiroshima, of Dresden, of the Somme. He had explained that humans did not bluff. When they promised violence, they delivered. The council had dismissed him as a coward. Now he watched Minister Dalov's interview and felt sick. The serpent was practically daring the humans to act. Every boast was another nail in the Dominion's coffin. "You should leave," his assistant suggested, "before it begins." "And go where? If the humans truly mobilize, nowhere will be safe." Day 30 arrived. General Park received confirmation that no response had come from the Velori. The deadline had passed. The guilty party had not been delivered. She opened a communication channel to every human vessel in range. "This is General Park. The time for diplomacy has ended. Begin." Across human space, 15,000 ships dropped their disguises. Cargo containers opened to reveal missile batteries. Hull panels slid back to expose energy weapons. Navigation systems locked onto predetermined targets. The transformation took 17 minutes. Captain Felix Okonkwo led the first fleet toward the Velori border. His ship, the Remembrance, had been designed for exactly this moment. Built to destroy, built to survive, built to remind the galaxy that humanity would not be slaughtered without answer. He broadcast on all frequencies. "Attention Velori forces, the deadline has passed. Minister Dalov is now classified as a war criminal under Earth law. We are entering your space to collect him. Any vessel that interferes will be destroyed. This is not a threat. This is a statement of fact." The Velori border stations detected the fleet moments later. Alarms screamed across their communications network. Frantic reports flooded the wound. 1,700 human warships, appearing from nowhere, heading directly for Dominion space. Counselor Tyvex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "This is impossible. Our intelligence said they had 500 ships at most." High Archon Selvex rose from his throne. For the first time in centuries, uncertainty flickered in his ancient eyes. "Mobilize all defensive fleets. Contact our allies. Prepare for..." Another alert, human vessels emerging at 6 other locations, simultaneous strikes, coordinated attacks. Krell watched the chaos unfold. He had tried to warn them. He had told them what humans were capable of. Now the galaxy would learn the hard way. He began moving toward the shuttle bay. If there was any chance of survival, it lay in getting as far from the wound as possible. As he ran, a human broadcast echoed through the station's speakers. Admiral Hask's voice was calm, almost gentle. "You called us primitives, you called us insects. You laughed when we asked for justice. I told you what would happen. You had 30 days. That time is over. Welcome to humanity's attention. I hope you survive it." The first Velori captain to die was named Koraz. He had commanded warships for 300 years. He had never lost a battle. His vessel, the Crystalline Fury, was considered invincible. He lasted 4 minutes against human tactics. The humans did not fight like any species he had encountered. They did not form lines. They did not announce their intentions. They appeared where they should not be, fired weapons that should not exist, then vanished before he could respond. His ship crumbled around him. The last thing he saw was a human frigate passing through the debris, already moving toward its next target. Admiral Chen Liang commanded the Third Fleet with precision that bordered on art. Her strategy was simple. Never be where the enemy expected, always strike where they were weakest, make them afraid to breathe. "Pattern 7, she ordered, draw them toward the asteroid field." Her ships retreated. The Velori pursuit force followed. They saw fleeing humans and assumed easy victory. Inside the asteroids, 40 human vessels waited in complete silence, their systems cold, their crews patient. When the Velori passed the trigger point, they powered up simultaneously. 8 enemy capital ships died in 90 seconds. Across the war zone, the same scenes repeated. Human forces used terrain that elder species had dismissed, hid in radiation fields that should have been lethal, emerged from gas giants that sensors could not penetrate. The Velori had never faced guerrilla warfare in space. They did not know how to respond. On the ground, it was worse. Sergeant Maria Santos led her assault team through a Velori military installation that intelligence had marked as impenetrable. The walls were thick. The guards were numerous. The defenses were state-of-the-art. None of it mattered. Humans had spent their entire evolutionary history as prey. They had survived by being smarter, faster, more adaptable. The instincts that kept their ancestors alive against predators now drove them through enemy fortifications. Santos moved in ways the Velori could not predict. She used cover they did not recognize as cover. She attacked from angles they had not considered. Her team reached the control room in 20 minutes. The facility commander surrendered in shock. "How?" he asked. "How did you get through?" Santos checked her weapon. "You built this place to stop species that fight like you. We don't." The elder species of the Dominion began to panic. One by one, they withdrew their forces to protect their own territories. The alliance that had held for 6,000 years fractured in a matter of days. Archon Trivex watched battle recordings in his private chamber. His father refused to acknowledge what was happening. The High Archon insisted victory was still possible, that the humans would tire, that they would make mistakes. Trivex saw the truth. He watched human soldiers carrying wounded comrades through fire. He watched them mourning their dead between engagements. He watched them share water with captured Velori prisoners. These were not mindless savages, they were warriors with a code. They fought because they had to, not because they wanted to. A new recording arrived. Historian Krell's shuttle had been intercepted by human forces. Trivex expected to see an execution. Instead, he watched humans offer the scholar food. They asked questions politely. They explained that they needed information about Minister Dalov's location. When Krell refused to answer immediately, they did not torture him. They gave him time to think. "We are not monsters," the human officer said in the recording. "We are just very good at killing monsters." Trivex closed his eyes. His father had created this disaster. The Dominion's arrogance had brought this upon them. He began composing a secret message to the human command. The war entered its 5th week. Human forces had pushed deep into Velori territory. The Wound Station was under siege. Rescue fleets had been destroyed or scattered. High Archon Selvex gathered his personal guard, the finest warriors the Dominion possessed, a fleet of 200 ships crewed by soldiers who had fought for millennia. "We will break the siege," he declared. "We will remind these creatures why we rule." The fleet launched. The humans detected them immediately. Admiral Hask studied the tactical display. "The Archon himself, he's coming to save his station." "Orders?" Mendez asked. "Let him come." Commander Tanaka moved the 4th Fleet to intercept position. Admiral Liang prepare the trap. The battle lasted 6 hours. It was not a fight. It was a lesson. Human tactics pulled the Velori Guard fleet apart piece by piece. Every formation was countered. Every maneuver was anticipated. The Archon watched his finest warriors die around him. When it was over, 43 Velori ships remained from 200. They limped back to the Wound in defeat. In the chaos, Minister Dalov attempted to flee. His personal yacht slipped away during the battle. He thought he had escaped. Commander Tanaka was waiting for him. "Minister Dalov," her voice came through his communications system. "By authority of Earth Tribunal, you are under arrest for the murder of 3,000 human citizens. Power down your vessel and prepare to be boarded." Dalov screamed threats. He promised revenge. He swore the Dominion would never forget this insult. The humans did not respond. They simply disabled his engines and cut through his airlock. He was in custody within the hour. On the Wound Station, Archon Trivex received confirmation. His message had reached the humans. They were willing to negotiate. The war could end, but first justice would be served. Advocate Merle had defended warlords. She had represented species accused of genocide. She had argued cases before councils that decided the fate of worlds. Nothing had prepared her for this. The humans had given her full access to evidence. They had provided her a comfortable office. They had offered translation services and cultural advisors. They treated her with professional respect. She did not understand. Minister Dalov sat in a clean cell with adequate food and medical care. He was not tortured. He was not humiliated. He was simply held until trial. "What game are you playing?" Merle asked the human official assigned to assist her. The woman looked confused. "Game. This farce, you have won the war. Your enemy is in your hands. Why not simply execute him and be done with it?" "Because that would make us like him." Merle stared. The answer made no sense. In galactic history, victory meant the right to do whatever you wished to the defeated. The trial began on a Tuesday. Judge Amara Os presided from a raised platform in the Hall of Justice. The building was ancient by human standards. It had survived wars and disasters. It represented something the humans called the rule of law. Representatives from across the galaxy watched the broadcast. They expected theater. They expected vengeance dressed as justice. Judge Osai opened the proceedings with a simple statement. "This court will determine the facts of the matter. Both sides will present evidence. Both sides will be heard. The verdict will be based on truth, not politics, not revenge, truth." Then she did something that silenced every observer. She began reading names. Aaron Kowalski, age 43, mining engineer, survived by his wife and 2 sons. Beatrice Akanjo, age 7, student, loved painting pictures of stars. Carlos Fernandez, age 61, retired teacher, volunteered at the Colony Hospital. Name after name, story after story. For 4 hours, Judge Osai read the identity of every person who died at Ashfall. She did not rush. She gave each name its full weight. When she finished, the courtroom was silent. Dalov looked uncomfortable for the first time. He had destroyed a number. Now he was facing people. The prosecution presented its case methodically. Entered. Signatures, debris analysis, communication records showing Dalov's direct orders, Sophia's testimony about the ships with crystal hulls. Merle did her best. She argued that under Valori law, the attack was not a crime. She presented cultural context. She cited precedent. The humans listened. They asked thoughtful questions. They did not mock her arguments. But the evidence was overwhelming. On the 5th day, Dalov broke. The prosecutor asked him simply, "Do you regret what you did?" Dalov's serpentine body uncoiled with rage. "Regret? I regret nothing. Those creatures were pests, vermin. Their deaths meant nothing. I would burn 1,000 of their colonies if given the chance. They are beneath us. They have always been beneath us. They." His advocate tried to silence him. It was too late. The galaxy heard every word. In the observation gallery, historian Krell watched with something like grief. He had spent his career trying to bridge the gap between species. Dalov had just widened it into an abyss. The jury deliberated for 3 days. They returned with a verdict of guilty on all counts. Judge Osai delivered the sentence herself. "Minister Dalov, you have been found guilty of 3,000 counts of murder. You showed no mercy to your victims. You have shown no remorse for your actions. Under Earth law, such crimes can carry the ultimate penalty." Dalov waited. He expected death. He had been expecting it since his capture. "However," the judge continued, "this court does not believe death is justice. Death is escape. You will spend the remainder of your natural life in a facility where you will be required to learn the name and history of every person you killed. You will know them as individuals. You will understand what you destroyed. That is your sentence." The gallery erupted. The galactic audience could not process what they had witnessed. Victory without vengeance, justice without cruelty, it was alien to everything they understood. After the verdict, Merle approached Judge Osai. "I do not understand," she admitted. "You had the power to destroy him. Why didn't you?" The judge considered the question. Because destroying him would prove his point. He believed humans were savages, that we were no better than the violence we inflicted. If we tortured him, if we executed him, we would become what he claimed we were. She paused. We refused to let him be right about us. Merle thought about this for a long time. On the wound station, Archon-Air Trivex watched the trial's conclusion. He had agreed to surrender. His father would face similar justice. The war was over. But something larger had changed. The galaxy had witnessed humans at their most powerful. They had won through strength, then shown restraint. They had earned the right to cruelty, then chosen mercy. Trivex understood now why Krell had been so afraid. The humans were not dangerous because they could destroy. They were dangerous because they could choose not to. And that made them something the galaxy had never seen before. Something worth following,